Well, hello everybody, and welcome to a second bonus stream for this evening. We're going to just check a few things real quick here to make sure everything is working as it should be. But I figured I had to do some edits tonight, and I kind of wanted to share what I do with my editing with all of you out there. I just want to make sure everything is working fine here on my phone. I'm just checking out the video quality and the audio real quick. Want to make sure the screen is showing what I want. And it is. So, very good. I will keep an eye on chat as I can. The thing I don't want to get is duplication of windows here on the screen. I hope you can understand that. I want to make sure, can you see me on screen? No, you cannot. So, hang on one second. Let me do this. We're going to go to OBS. And bear with me for a second here. Display. Yep, that's the window I wanted. Weird. Wait, no. Yep, that's the one I wanted. So we are going to... No, that's not what I want there. Sorry, guys. It's taking an extra second here. Properties. No, 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 no. So there's that. Well, we're going to just drop that down there, and that'll be our workaround for right now. And hopefully everything will work as we need it to. I'll keep an eye. I've got my cell phone over to the side here, and I will try to keep an eye on the chat window as I can. So, well, hey, welcome back, Chit Chat. So, I use Sony Vegas, or actually it's not even Sony Vegas anymore. It got bought out by a company called Magix. And so there's really three tools that I use on the regular. Sorry if the screen, actually I might bounce a little bit, but the screen will be fine for you guys. I use three basic tools while I edit. I use my editing software itself, Movie Studio. I use Photoshop, and then I use the snipping tool. Those are the three biggest tools that I use. So what I have here is, this is a video that will be going live probably tomorrow for Patreons and for everybody else a day or two later. And what I have is, this is a charging dock sent to me for review by a company called ChargeN Pro. I recently posted a video talking about their inductive charger. I've done stuff talking about their switch dock that they have, and then they sent me this here as well. So what I've done is, what I use for a backdrop for photos like this, quite honestly, it's a window blind that I have set up on a frame, sitting on a table. Gives me a really nice, clean, white background. And from here, if I want to, I can take this file and I can dump it in Photoshop. So this is actually where I was creating my image a little bit earlier for the splash for this stream here. We're going to go full screen on here. And here's my image itself. Now, a couple things I can do is I can keep this background as I want, or if I want, I can manipulate it a little bit. I actually don't mind this a whole lot, but what I might try to do is change the background out for like a color gradient. And one of the issues that I have here is there's some dirt in the background and whatnot. One of the first things you need to do anytime you're working with a photo that you've taken, hey Media Glitch, how you doing? Snipping is a lifesaver. One of the things that you have to do anytime that you start working with a photo that you've imported in is you need to right-click on your image, go down here to rasterize layer, easy for me to say. If you don't do that, you can't do a dang thing with it. So I'm going to Control-Z to undo that. Now let's say I want to use my magic wand tool here. Actually, I'll just grab the eraser tool here. Let me know in the chat too if you guys, hey Smash, let me know if you can see the cursor here, how it's kind of the Ghostbusters no kind of thing. I can't do a thing on here, and that's because the smart object, the image, must be rasterized before processing. So get in the habit, if you are using Photoshop, right-click on it, and I'm going to go back out here again. See, now you can see in this little corner here, it's got the little kind of folder kind of thing. It's not rasterized. Go down here, rasterize layer. Now I can manipulate this. A couple things that I find really useful is the magic wand tool, and with this you can select large layers of background if you want to delete it. Now what makes it challenging on this image is the fact I have a white background and white cables. So if I have the tolerance set too high, not only is it going to delete the background, I'm going to hit delete here, you can see it deleted part of the cables. It's not what I wanted. So I'm going to undo that. Hey John, especially to you, do you think this check and hold? You know, here's the cool thing about this right now, this tutorial, is nothing's going to hit me. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. So again, for something like this, I could rasterize and I could try to clip out the background. I'm actually okay. I personally don't mind clean backgrounds as long as it's clean. Now what I'll generally do here, there's my text tool. My big area, if you notice when I took, let me unselect this. I left this big area right up in here. I had that in mind when I shot this image, that first of all, my camera shoots in 4:3 mode. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio picture. So first of all, in the original picture, I kept that in mind, so I was actually pulled out a little bit. Let me actually go down here to, in every project that I work on, everything has its own folder. So this is that image right there. So what I did is I left enough room top and bottom that I can crop in, because it'll be shorter on the top, wider on the sides. So it gave me that room that I didn't have to fill a gap or anything along those lines. This I'm able to work with without having to really manipulate the image. There are times when I do have to go in here and say I had a blank space, and I'm not Taylor Swift, but say that I had a blank space up here or towards the bottom that I needed to fill. I could do that by hitting Shift F5, and then it would give me the option to fill that. I'm good with what I have, so I am going to simply put my text in here. What I like to do is, you know, be very blunt. What is this? Well, this is a product review. So this is, and the way that I form my reviews, if you guys paid any attention to the channel for any period of time, is should you buy something? And the reason behind that is the fact I don't want to know, you know, review XYZ product. No, should I spend my money on it? That's always the philosophy that I've taken on here. So, should you buy a... Now, one thing that is important here too, especially when you are naming the manufacturer, make sure that you format their name as they format it. So it would be really easy for me to just do Chargen Pro. Done, right? That's not how they format their name. So that is one of the issues that I had for years. I'm going to actually go down to another line here real quick. Radio Shack. Most people type it out. That's not how it's trademarked. That's not the proper name. Radio Shack is all one word. So every time I'd see it in print as two words, it would drive me nuts. Part of it is because I worked there. Okay. Next, the one thing you want to make sure is that you are correctly describing what this is. So I'm going to go to Chargen Pro's website and get their exact product name. Again, you want to be as accurate as possible. And as you can see, I actually go to Charge on Pro's website on a pretty regular basis here. Have I tried iMovie from Apple? No, I am not an Apple user at all. Everything I have, hey, who needs a 10% off code? Charge on Pro has it on their website. I've always just been either a PC or a Android guy, except for the time when I initially was a Palm WebOS user, still a superior operating system to anything else that's out there. So this is the product itself, and so they're calling it the 90-watt supercharger docking station. So as they have it here, highlight, copy, and paste. So one thing with this, if you saw, and I'm going to go back here real quick, they actually have their name in all caps. This is just a popular format on websites. For this, I'm going to capitalize the S, capitalize the C, but put everything else in a normal font. Speaking of fonts, I tend to use Myriad Pro, bold. Part of it is just, it's what I use for work. It's what I'm familiar with. I like the way it looks. It's pretty clean. So, and as you noticed here, when I went to lowercase, it also kind of shifted everything over to the left. So with an item such as this, and especially with a channel such as this, where I focus on a lot of gaming for the most part, but I also talk about tablets, smartphones, cutting the cord, things along those lines. This photo is staged to actually show a wide variety of devices that this would be compatible with. So I'm going to go here. I like that. Now, one other thing, actually I'm going to go back in here. It's important to set your spacing between lines. And an easy way to do that, highlight the line that you're on. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see a little bit easier. So look at the gap between this line and the line above, if you can see that. Palm Trio, that thing was awesome, man. I can actually get you a line on another one if you want one. So what you want to be careful when you're setting your spacing is that you have, you don't have your characters basically running into each other. Now, if the by were further over here, I'd be worried about where the lower part of the Y could possibly come in contact with any of the characters down below. I'm actually in the clear there. So what I do in Photoshop is I go over here and I can actually adjust the spacing. What I want is, if you notice here, the black kind of highlights and goes over the line above it. I set that so it is just off of that. So in this case, it's 52 points separating on a 66-point font. Now, I could make this bigger if I wanted to. So let's say I go to 74. That's actually not terrible. And then what I'm going to do here again, I'm going to highlight that. Here you can more clearly see how the text box basically is overlapping the line above. Only worry about the line above at this point. So at 74, probably about 66. No, way too much. Right about there, so 59. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing here. And it can space your lines differently if you hit enter at the end of the line versus having it automatically wrap around to the next line below that. I'm going to actually add another point there because I didn't like the way that it was overlapping over the O here. I like that. And here I have to accommodate the G. What up, G? Okay, and the P. So here you can see how the P and the dot on the I, they're interfering with each other. That's where I have to open up my leading a little bit. And actually what I may end up doing is reformatting this slightly. Come over here. And I do want to capitalize the D and the S. And that'll also change the positioning a little bit. And actually that hyphen is kind of unnecessary too. So here, I'm going to probably tighten this up just a hair. But I don't, oh, wrong way. I don't want to crowd. All right, got to run. Wife is getting pissed. She's trying to sleep. Have a good one. Anytime. Thanks, Jeff. Off the grid living media glitch. Huh. Yours was the new iPhone. I am so sorry. Not an Apple fan. Okay. So I like this here. This looks pretty clean. It's simple. It kind of smacks you upside the head. What the hell am I looking at? Oh, should I buy this accessory? Now, what I also have is I have this space down below. And so they're calling this a supercharger, right? We're going to drop our font down to about 40 point here. And I'm going to preliminarily drop this down about 30, 35. Yeah, 32 to start with. So kind of a play on, oops, sorry about that. A play on what it does. I'm powering up. There's game stuff here. So a power up for your USB charged accessories. And again, I'm going to double check my leading here. That actually looks a little bit loose, so I'm going to tighten that up just a hair. And again, I've got to accommodate for the P in up in the top line so it doesn't interfere with the H down below. That's a little tight. That's better. Leave it like that. And then finally, I'm just going to move it so that it's clearly on its own. This may also benefit from, don't be afraid to play around, and I'll check out the chat in a second here. Play around with the paragraph settings as well. So this is center justified right now. There's right justified. And that looks okay. I think I've got a extra space there. Nope. I'm just looking weird for some reason. The other thing you can do in Photoshop as well, don't forget, is you can also rotate text as well and kind of give it a bit of an angle if you want. So we're going to move over here, kind of line that up. I'm going to drop this down here to the bottom guide. Now you can see the A and the Y, they're on the same plane below the image. They're not really being interfered with the dock itself. I'm good with that. I can save this. Now, I don't worry too much about archiving my graphics just because I do so many of them and they're pretty easy for me to do. So I generally just save the JPEG. I don't worry about the PSD. So the way I name my files is basically the name of the video, hyphen splash. And this, and I will check the chat again in a second, this image will serve two purposes. First of all, I have my thumbnail for my video. Second of all, this is what goes between my intro teaser video that's like 15, 20 seconds long and the start of my video itself. So now that I have that saved, I'm going to go over to Movie Studio. Now, one of the reasons, too, why I like Movie Studio is it's inexpensive and it's really functional. I'm going to put the chat over here just so I can see it a little bit easier. Sorry about that, guys. So, again, that's the raw image. Here we are in Movie Studio. Now, out of the box, this is 14. 15 just recently came out. I haven't used it yet. I've just used 14. Now, what I do when I am recording any video is, this is a one-man production. So I have my area where roughly I set my camera each and every time. I know about how I want to stage everything. I come from behind the camera. Here, I'll just show you real quick. Hopefully it'll come through. So there's that, and that's actually not the open I was looking for. Oop. Here's a trick there that I'll have to show you guys a little bit. This is actually the end of the video. So I'll move that down my timeline a little bit. I don't like starting or dropping elements on my timeline at 0 seconds because just like this, a lot of times I have to move stuff around. I generally come a minute or two in. That gives me a pad area to, again, kind of have a buffer area. So I am thinking That was 135, so 207. So here's my folder again. I have all my elements for this video as far as the unique elements. So you see my images there that I shot. There's my splash for the thumbnail and everything. There's basically 3 camera shots with this. There's my on the bench. That's my intro. That's my close. Why does that say 207 and that say 135? Did I shoot, 70 odd videos between? No, I used 2 different devices basically for recording. I have my Google Pixel XL that I use from time to time, and then I have my Samsung Galaxy Note 8. So a lot of times I'll go back and forth between each one. So there's that. I need 207, which I'm just going to grab it, and I'm going to drag it and drop it on my timeline. Bam. So the one thing you notice, my intro is much shorter than my conclusion. So this is basically setting up the video for what you're going to see. I firmly believe show, don't tell. And I need to get better at this. Lord knows I do this too much as it is. I say too often, I'm going to show you how to do X. I need to just get into it. I don't need to talk about what I'm going to do. Just shut up and do it. So let's go here to the beginning of this. And one tip I'm going to give you too is, so I've got my TV in the background here. Anytime you have a TV screen or monitor in the background of a video, you need to reduce the brightness and reduce the contrast. Otherwise, it'll throw off your white balance, it'll throw off your brightness, and it generally just looks like poop. So I have a setting stored in my TV. Every time I'm going to film it in the background, I just go to my user setting, and that saves it for me. Now, at this point, what I need to do, if you look, I'm going to blow this up just a little bit. So if you look right here, you can see a door jamb. Well, I don't want that in the shot. And I've got a little bit too much white space over here. I want to get rid of that. There's a lot of white space right there, I'll just tell you that right now. But where do I get my intro? I'll get to that in a second, John. That is a good question. It's actually music I had produced for me. So I'm going to get rid of, actually let me undo that. So here again, I've already started recording. I'm behind the camera just taking a look at how everything is set up. You can also see here, let me come back, just to move the camera to the left. And the reason for that, look at the right-hand side of the screen here. That's actually the A-frame that I use for my white screen, and then the blinds for the window that are right there. I don't like having that in the shot. I'd rather crop out the left part here with the wood frame. It ends up being exactly the same. I'd rather look at the door frame versus the other part. So the other thing I do too is I do 1 or 2 rough takes, and not even a full take, but just I do a mic check where I just tap the mic and make sure that I'm seeing the levels come through on my phone. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get rid of that dead space. And now we're going to start the edit. And I'm thinking, looking at here, I probably flubbed, and that's probably the start of the first actual take. Actually, no, that was a clean intro. Okay, so that's clear. You can see here, what is that? If you look in my lower right-hand corner, 6.14 seconds. Short, sweet, to the point. Welcome someone to your channel. Let them know this is what they're going to be viewing for. And if you want, introduce yourself either here or after the intro section. Sorry, I've got a piece of dog hair there that was throwing me off. So that's the piece that I want, right? So, but before I do that, I need to crop out this left-hand side. So in Vegas, there is an event pan crop tool in the lower right-hand corner, right there. Now, one other thing too, if you have used earlier versions of Vegas, this toolbar down below used to be up top. It took me about a month to get used to where this is. I still don't like it down here. I'd rather have it up top. You can't change it. It is what it is. But what I want to do now at this point, like I say, event pan crop. And there are a number of different presets that are preloaded in here. You can do a 1:1 square crop, 4:3, 16:9, 18:5. I have my own crops that I use quite frequently when I'm sitting on the couch, and you guys see me edit that later. So I want to make sure that's a 16:9, but I want to come in a little bit. So as you can see here, if you look on the screen over here, you can no longer see the door jamb. Sorry about that. What I like to do is I want to try to keep the top of the TV in the shot and then get butted right up to the sides of the window or of the frames for my first 2 issues of RC Driver. Little tidbit, I actually used to work for Maplegate Media and RC Driver magazine. I produced 10 different articles for the very first issue, which is that one right there, including an interview with NASCAR champion Tony Stewart. Tony is actually a big fan of RC cars and trucks and actually owns his own company called Custom Works RC. So what I did at the end there, I had some dead space. I got rid of that. I'm going to go back to the front. I am going to reduce that. Again, dead space, delete. Now what I do, and this is another reason why, as I mentioned early on, I leave open space on this side of my timeline when I edit. That's so I can take that and I can slide it over and I can accommodate my open. So I have basically a default folder on my laptop here. And so I'm going to go to my main folder, Channel Defaults. And the only reason why there's a second one here, I had to export it when I went to Germany, and I just have a second one. So I'm on my 3rd version of my intro teaser, and that's that one there. Just grab it, drag it into my timeline. Now, within this itself, there's actually some minor changes I need to do. So this track here, this is my audio track. That's my speaking track. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the audio down here onto its own separate track, and this allows me to adjust the volume of this independently from my speaking. So with that, there we go. Sorry, I just want to make sure I can keep an eye on the chat too. What I do is I pan the music volume down to start with. When the intro starts, I bring those levels up, and then when I start speaking again, I drop it down before I fade out. So I have, there's my intro right there, as you guys have all seen. It's a little laggy right now because I am streaming, so that's why it doesn't look as smooth on this side of it. It would look normal in normal speed. So what I do down here is I can ignore event grouping. And by doing this, I can move my audio around separate from the video. So I generally like having my music coming in about 2 to 3 seconds before the intro itself starts. I fade it in, and then what I also do is I hit the V button, and this brings up an individual volume slider essentially for this entire track. I drop it down extremely low to start, and then I look where my speaking stops, and I double click to set that little marker point right there, and then I'm going to drag this in to mate up with my other course of video. Now, my logo falls into the screen here, and as you can see, it's slowly coming. I normally bring it in a couple of frames. If I scroll in, I can zoom in on that part of my timeline. Now I have it about where I like it. And when I do crossfading, I like to have about a second. I just think it looks the cleanest. So here we are at 1 second. And so it faded that in. Again, I'm going to drop my quality down here. I'm getting a little bit of a lag. Again, it's just because I'm streaming. So when I do that, it'll drop this. You'll see this gets really blurry. It's not going to affect the final product there. It's really blurry now. But now my computer can actually keep up with the processing easier. Yeah, there you can see the lag was pretty bad. And again, it's because I'm streaming. So now this bit is actually a little bit long, so I bring that down. And once I get this done, I will show you one other thing that I do here. And you can use the left and right arrow keys to move along. Funny, there's Earthworm Jim, which we were streaming earlier tonight. And I can always see if it's processing or if there's really an issue. When I look here at that frame, if I see periods after the frame number, that means that it's actually trying to process and output that video to the right frame. That is one thing I will say about Movie Studio, is it's a bit of a resource hog. You need to have a good PC to be able to run it. So again, there's frame, no frame. So I'm going to bring this in and kiss that right up to there. Now, John, you were asking where I get my music from. I have 3 different tracks that I use primarily. I have friends and family up in the Portland area that actually do a lot of music production. This is from a band called Block. It's actually my middle brother, his friend Tim Hagner, and I forget who else was involved in it. I have used these 3 tracks, quite honestly, for about 10 years in different videos. I'm a huge fan of slap bass. You know, the 90s era, more metal and grunge. So that's why I feel this represents what I enjoy. Kind of gives a little bit of an edge to it, because I have to admit I can be kind of blah and bland and whatnot, and I think this helps a little bit. Okay, so I have my music. I have my intro track. Now what I need to do is I need to add in that image that we created in Photoshop. So again, go back to my project folder, grab that, drag it and drop it on my timeline. Now this will be roughly 5 seconds, exactly 5 seconds if you look there, just by default. I can make that longer or shorter depending on what I want. So 5 seconds is what I always use, and again, I use a 1 second crossfade. And then at this point, I know that's about where I'm going to have my audio come back in. So I'm going to double click here to set another point. I'm going to come in a little bit there to set one more, and there to set one more, and I can grab that audio level that we set earlier, and I can raise that up. So if you listen, it fades in, the music is quiet, and then the levels come up. So, and I've updated my my intro 3 times so far. I'm about ready to do a 4th one. Just, I think every month or 2, you really need to visit that if you do something like this. Just because as you're creating new content, you want your intros to kind of reflect your latest and greatest. Think of it kind of as your business card or calling card. You want people to see your most relevant recent work. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to unclick Ignore Event Grouping. So now it'll move everything here as one. I'm going to bring it closer. Closer. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click it again. Now it's ignoring event groupings. And I'm going to bring this back about 3.5 to 4 seconds. And the reason for that is I'm going to do a crossfade here again, 4 seconds. And I want a 1 second crossfade between this video and that still image. Now that I'm happy with where that positioning is, I'm going to re-uncheck that. Re-uncheck? Yeah, you know what I mean. Slide that over. There's my 1 second overlay. And if you see here, the speaking starts just as the splash screen comes on screen. I'm going to actually back this off a little bit, so I'm going to delete, delete, and I'm going to come back in here, and I want it to fade down just after I start talking. Nope, too much. Actually, I need to delete that one. There we go. And now you can see as we zoom in, how there's my fade down to bring that level down right before I start talking. That way people aren't fighting to hear what I'm saying over the music. There you can kind of hear how that worked there. Now, one thing here, there we go, is the music actually stops rather abruptly right there. So we'll let it play through. I'm going to mute this track so just you can hear what that does. There, it just cut out. I don't want that harsh finish. So what I do is I shorten this up a little bit, and I give that about a 3 to 4 second fade out. So now we have, there's our, it got rid of that harsh finish, and it transitioned it out quite nicely. So then now I can talk. In the video, the background music is still there to finish the intro, and now in a second it's going to go away. Okay, so there's how that works. Once I get to this point, project, save as, and desktop, maybe, yes. Here's my working folder, and I will actually title the name of the file the exact same name that will be displayed in the name of the video. So, should you buy a Char Gen Pro? There's no music, just me talking now. Right, I don't have any music going right now. It's just me. Char Gen Pro. Let me look here again at the name of the product. Nope, I didn't want Edge. Edge is terrible. Go away. So, and your title should match what your splash screen is. Sorry, again, I'm at the victim of a little bit of lag right now, so... Char Gen Pro. 90 watt. So there we go. That is my file name, and that I may add to what the name is of the video when it uploads. I try to get as close to that 100 character limit as possible because that's your SEO, that search engine optimization right there helping you and working for you. So again, so now music is gone. I'm going to take a listen. One of the first things I do too is I look and see for any big audio gaps in here, like later on in the timeline. Here you can see I've got, that's a gap there. That's a perfect place that I know I've got to edit right there. That's weird. I was hearing both of it, so I don't know if it's something with the stream or whatnot, but I was able to hear it. So it was there, I promise you. So basically, I try to keep my intros down to 3 minutes or less. Again, it falls under the umbrella of show, don't tell. You do want to have some setup in there of this is who you are, this is what you're watching, this is why it's interesting, and these are some of the things that I'm looking to see one way or the other if the product will meet the needs that I'm looking for it to fill. So what I can do here, let me back up a little bit. So there I'm talking about the different ports on the side, and that's another time, an instance, where I can grab my images that I have here. I'm going to drag and drop this one in. So I start talking 5 USB ports right there, right? Now you might be looking at that going, wait, hold on one second. That's a 4x3. I need 16x9. Exactly, but that's also where you can use your software for video editing to come in and work on your images, and you don't need to rely on Photoshop for everything. At least with this software, you don't. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to select my 16x9 crop. Bam, full screen. But I want to look at the ports, right? All I got to do, zoom in. Burp. Bam, there's a look at the ports, nice and clean. Now, if I wanted to get super fancy, what I can do is zoom in even tighter. Go here, and there is a tool called Track Motion. So what I can do is I'm going to set a reference point right here. That's where I start. And let's say that's at just past half a second in. And it's 5 seconds again. So at that point to that point, I'm going to add another. I'm going to bring it, and I'm going to drag it up to here. Actually, I'm going to spread that out a little bit, so it'll go a little bit slower. Now, what I can do here too, right-click, and I want this to be smooth. And what it's going to do is, as the video plays, it's going to pan for me. I hope that we don't have too much lag here due to doing the stream with everything else. Hopefully this works as I want it to. So that is an option that you have too. Again, if you only have yourself as the camera person, don't always think I need to capture it live. Get the wide shot, use your editing to get the finer details or the motion or the zooms or things along those lines. That's also where it really helps to shoot in the highest resolution possible. That way you have more to work with after the fact. If I would have shot this at a lower resolution and zoomed in on it, it would have blown out and looked terrible. I actually like that, so I'm going to leave that in there. And again, I like crossfades. I don't like just blam, here's an image. So add in about 0.2 of a second on the front and the back end. So you just film this with your phone. Yeah, that's all I use. I use my phone for everything. And again, go up here, save often. The more often you save, the less often you'll be scrambling because you won't have lost your footage because software crashes. It happens. So there's a quick look at the ports, and it adds a little bit of pizzazz and style to what you're doing. Feel free to make fun of yourself, too. Don't take yourself too seriously. Like this, I didn't notice that it said right on the outside of the box, USB-C port. I should have read closer before I shot, and that's on me. But it also shows that, yeah, you're human. You are learning this along with everybody else. So, and that's another point here, too, the fact that this particular device, normally you're thinking phones, tablets, headphones, smartwatches. That's all your typical type of charging hub, right? Well, this also has enough output that it can charge like a Chromebook, for example, or some iMacs as well. Or not, whoa, I showed my age there. MacBooks as well. Let me just set my laptop down for a second here. So at the end there, I'm kind of repeating what I said. So I'm going to go through here. I'm gonna remove this part where I start. That's a good place right there. Again, that falls under show, don't tell. This is me telling what I'm going to do. Get rid of it. There's no need for it. And on the flip side, it's one of those things. It's better to have extra footage and delete it and edit it out than not have enough and feel the need that you need to go back and clean stuff up. So I've got my intro done. Where are we at lengthwise? We are at 2 minutes and 2 seconds. That's an acceptable intro. You're still not hearing audio from the clip. That's weird. Let me check one thing really, really quick. Back this up. It's designed to charge smartphones, tablets, all USB devices. I'm blaming that as well. It even claims that it charges laptops. Bear with me for a second here. I think I know what the issue is. Display capture. Properties. Nope. I need to go into... There we go. Advanced desktop audio. Hey! Let's see if you can hear this now. And monitor and output. Close. Hopefully this works now. Let me know if that comes through now. Good deal. Sorry about that. So let me go back here to the very end. There we go. So again, you can kind of hear how that's redundant and it falls under that show, don't tell. So we're going to scrap that all together. And now I need to bring in my next bit of footage. Go to my working folder, and that is 033. And again, this is one thing where when I shoot, I get a rough idea of what I'm going to edit or what I'm going to have on screen, but I'm okay. Like here in the upper left-hand corner, you can see there's an area where my backdrop, it doesn't cover it. Come in here, bring that in a little bit, and maybe a tick more. Bam. The other thing I can do here too, I'm going to go into Video FX. And one thing that I do quite often is white balance. Drag that onto my track, and then it will give me the option to select my white color, which is right there. And you can see it's a lot brighter white. I'm going to actually go to preview quarter. Now there's nothing again, huh? Okay, give me a second. Sorry about that. Advanced audio properties. Desktop. How about now? Let me do this, because worst case, I'll just leave this open in the background then. Let me go back here. Anything? I guess I can pop off my earphone and listen to the stream itself. Anything? I guess I can pop off my earphone and listen to the stream itself. That's weird. Sorry about the echo there. Okay, give me a second here. Video capture device. Display capture. Why is that not outputting audio? That is quite odd. Still nothing, huh? Settings. Audio. Desktop audio device.
And if you look on the side, it almost looks like a vertical charging hub, really, where you've got
I think we got it.
USB outputs here, along with your USB-C, your power input here. On the back, you've got all your pertinent information as far as voltage and current. Charge on Pro logo right there. Vented on the bottom to get rid of heat. If it's putting out 90 watts of power, this sucker's going to get warm. I'm telling you that right now. So good to have that. And these slots should be where the plates will go in.
Okay, I can hear it on my phone.
Our user manual.
All right, sorry about that. All right, so we're going to minimize this. I think we should be okay. All right, so let's go back here again real quick. Hey, J-Love, how you doing? Let me know real quick if you guys hear audio in 3, 2, 1.
So let's dive in the box. Let's see how it comes equipped and see how we can use this to our advantage to declutter and simplify our charging needs.
So that's for like the third time now where we fall into the show don't tell, and we can kill that. I think we should be okay on that. Good deal. Thanks, John. So now I'm going to bring in, this is my benchtop test essentially. And again, goal is about a second of overlap or crossfade. But what I have to be careful of too is if you see this part on the audio, there's a little bit of garbage or whatever there. Let's see what that is. Me inhaling. So what I can do, quite honestly, is I am going to delete that. There's my crossfade. I am using, it used to be called Sony Movie Studio. It's just Vegas Movie Studio.
It'll help eliminate that. Do want to thank ChargeN Pro for sending us the supercharger that you see here.
Now, one thing that you will want to make sure that you do, again, we're going to save. Anytime you get sent something for review, if it does happen, or even if you purchase something, you kind of need to disclose where that device came from. You can actually get in trouble with the FTC if you don't. You really need to. Thanks, Eric. No. You need to disclose if and really for transparency to your audience, and just so that people know one way or the other, hey, I paid for this, or hey, I got this sent to me for review. I try to make that as clear as possible, and quite honestly, I don't let that affect my reviews. I try, every product has good and bad. Even if I'm not the target audience, there's good and bad to be found in every single product. You need to look at what was the device intended to do and does it meet those expectations. From there, you can bring in your own biases and say, I like this because X, or I didn't like this because Y. But that's something that you may want to do.
ChargeGen Pro, like I mentioned, is they do carry some really cool accessories for PC and Mac, but they also carry the ChargeGen Pro Switch Hub, which allows you to have a really nice small portable hub and dock for your Nintendo Switch. So they do have a connection to the video game genre. So that's one of the cool reasons, or one of the reasons why I think it's cool that they sent us this to take a look at.
And again, you don't have to be over the top about, hey, I got sent this and I didn't pay for it, blah, blah, blah. You know, there you can see just kind of off, you know, not off the cuff, but kind of on the side of, yeah, I really want to thank them for sending this to us. It's implied there that it was sent in for review. There was no cash exchange or anything along those lines.
And again, like I mentioned, on the front of the box, charges smartphones, tablets, all USB devices, USB-C port, and it'll charge a laptop. Now, 45-watt output.
Now, the reason, too, I just went and I changed my setting here from preview to draft. It just load on my machine itself because I'm streaming. Normally, I do edit either in the preview or the good mode. It doesn't really affect the final product.
The higher the wattage, basically the more current output you're going to get out of each channel. The fewer devices, hypothetically speaking, you can have a higher amperage or current output. I know people hate the term amperage. More wattage equals more current output, so you can realize.
So here, what I'm doing is basically talking about things that can become technobabble really easily, and not dumb it down, but bring it down to terms that anybody can understand. My old man is 73, and my goal is for something like this is I want him to be able to sit down and watch and get 75 to 90% of what I'm talking about. If he doesn't get it, tell him to watch it again. A part of it helps your retention and viewership and whatnot, but B, it's also one of those things of there are so many people that get caught up in specs and technobabble, and there's just no... The audience for that is more finite than something that can reach a broad audience that anyone can digest and understand. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually skip ahead here because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm starting to get a little tired. I'm going to go ahead here.
We're going to pull this out. This has probably got... Actually, we're going to pull out the dock first.
Depends on what it is, John. So, like, I'm working on an update to my Nintendo Switch 6 months later video. I don't write an outline. I write bullet points. And from there, what I end up doing is, you have to remember, the channel really has only been going for 9 months or so now. I've been making YouTube videos since 2007. This is my comfort zone. I've done radio for years. I've done a lot of this, so I'm actually very comfortable talking off the cuff like this. I'm the exception, not the rule. I really recommend, even if you're not going to use a script or an outline, write one out, because it will make you think along the lines of, does this make sense? Is this something, at the end of the day, be your own harshest critic? And I don't say that lightly, but would you watch your video if Joe Schmo was in it? If not, then you need to go back and rework your video, because if you're not going to watch it, why in the world would anyone else care to look at it?
Because I think we've got a whole lot of stuff under here, and very nicely packed.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part out, because, again, it's show, don't tell. Bring that over, and again, looking for as close to a second crossfade. You're not always going to get it, but there's half a second.
This is two, very nicely packed. And if you look on the side, it almost looks like a vertical charging hub, really, where you've got your USB outputs here along with your USB-C.
Now, John, one thing I will say is if you look at all of my videos, they all have extensive copy down below in the more info section. The reason for that is twofold. First of all, it's an important place to put links. Second of all, that's search engine material. You're allowed 5,000 characters. Use them.
See your power input here. On the back, you've got all your pertinent information as far as voltage and current. Charge on Pro logo right there. Vented on the bottom to get rid of heat.
So this is something too, you know, the vents, who cares if it's vented? Well, you know what? There's a reason why it's important. Talk about the reason. Look for the finite details. Look for the things that someone else who may have this may overlook, because that'll be a place where you can differentiate yourself from others.
If it's putting out 90 watts of power, this sucker's going to get warm. I'm telling you that right now.
And it does.
So good to have that. And these slots should be where the plates will go in. Our user manual.
Okay, don't care about the user manual, quite honestly. So I'm going to pull that out. See here, I'm shaving 15 seconds just like that. Yes, I've noticed. Very cool. Good deal.
Plates will go in. Some assembly required. So here's our divider plate.
Yeah, that was a lame joke, so I'm going to... Whoop.
So here's our...
Come in here, and...
So here's our divider plates.
Here we go. So here's our divider plates.
So here's our divider plates. There's 6 here, and then looks like there's another one there. There's your smartwatch holder.
So again, had a bit of a flub. I'm going to pull that out. Kind of like anytime you talk to Viking Gamer, pretty much everything he says is a flub, so you want to pull out most of what he says. Check and see who's paying attention and who isn't.
Smartwatch holder, if you have one of those bad boys. You have your cables here.
So again, dead space, there's a couple seconds there that I can delete. It's okay to delete mid-sentence if you have a good transition into the rest of the sentence. You don't want it to be very abrupt. And that's, again, where crossfades can help you out here. Now, one thing to keep in mind, every time you have something like this, every time you cut, slice, edit, crossfade, add gimmicks or whatever, here, what's a flub? It's basically anything that I say. It will add to your rendering time. I generally render overnight, that way I don't worry about it. So here I've only got about 0.6 of a second crossfade, right? But what I can do is, again, if I do my ignore event grouping, I can manipulate the video side while the audio stays the same, so I get the visual crossfade that I want, and it covers up the audio crossfade.
Your cables here.
So again, let's listen to that one real quick. I'm going to back it up a little bit.
Watch holder, if you have one of those bad boys. Your cables here. And we have USB to micro.
So there's a lot of dead space there. There's 4 seconds or so worth of dead space. And I'm not talking about the really terrible EA game either. That game was so bad. Almost as bad as that pun.
Here, USB to micro USB. I'm just going to set them back in here so we know what we have. USB to micro USB. USB to Thunderbolt.
Now, certain areas, you know, like that there, it's a second by the time that I edit and recrossfade and everything. I've got a second of time added back in there. Don't worry about that. Don't get so anal with it that you're trying to clear out every little bit of dead space, because eventually you're just going to wind up with the same length video with a hell of a lot more cuts and transitions, and it doesn't add anything. Let's see. The one on the Wii was good. The Wii was good. What are you talking about? Oh, Dead Space.
USB to Thunderbolt, or for your newer iPhone connections. There's another iPhone style or iPad connection, and there's another one. So a little disappointed, I have to say, that there's no USB-C connectors in here.
So again, this is one of the things where it's an honest reaction. It's not saying, "Oh, this is a piece of shit. You can't ever use it." No, it's like, it's got all these other great things. I just wish it would have had the USB-C charger. And I realize USB-C is not as widespread as micro USB and the Lightning or Thunderbolt connectors, but it's something that both of my cell phones use. So I really wish that I had it. But I cover elsewhere in this video that there's actually a coupon in the box. You can actually get, I forget if it was 1 or 2 extra cables they'll send you for free. So they address that issue, but it's one of those that it's a fair criticism without being necessarily a dig and slamming a product.
That's a little bit of a bummer to me. And then you have your power cable itself.
And again, it's one of those things of it's a flaw or a fault, but you don't dwell on it. You know what I mean?
To me. And then you have your power cable itself. No worries on that. I have plenty of USB-C to USB-C cables. It just would have been nice for them to include that. So let's get our final setup going here. I'm going to set the box and these cables aside.
This is all my own audio cues for during the editing process. So what I can do, I can just cut right there, and I know up to this point I'm good. Now, it looks like I'm going to come back in right about here.
And then these just have a film on them to protect them during shipping so that they don't get all marred and scratched up. It's, just a really thin, there we go. That's all there is to it.
So again, I've got some dead area right there. Now, another trick I'm going to show you is actually if any of you saw, and I can back this off a little bit there too, saw the video that we did showing how to install the Nincade on the Super NES Classic Edition, or how to region-free modify your GameCube. I use this technique in there, and it's basically how you can take otherwise boring footage of like, hey, you're screwing or unscrewing something. You can speed it up and get you through the process. You're not omitting any of the process. You're just not dragging someone through, how long it takes to unscrew a dozen different screws.
And depending on how many slots you're going to use, they'll just pop in right like so. And that's basically, you can see the finished product. I'm not going to have you wait to see this. We'll do that in just a second off camera, but that's what it'll look like when it's done. And has spout at the back for the watch holder, which is actually, I already put that in there. Your USB-C quick charge is on the front. That's this bad boy right there. And these guys are listed at 5 volts, 5 volts, 2.4 amp on all of those on the side. And what's inside, you'll get the charging station, the power cord, 7 clear dividers, 1 watch holder, the manual, which we have here. Intro.
How did you do the graphics and your picture? Are you talking the caricature of me? I actually have a friend, funny enough, the RC Driver magazine I talked about. Our illustrator, David Baker, did those for me. He's immensely talented, and I couldn't be more thankful for what he did. I actually still owe him a little bit for what he did for me. So that is something there.
There's your intro there. Pretty cool. So let's see how this connects to everything. Now, the other thing that's really cool.
So there is, again, show, don't tell. I'm going to cut there. I'm going to bring this section in. And there's my crossfade to kind of cover that up.
On how many slots you're going to use, they'll just pop in.
So.
Pretty cool. So let's see how this connects to everything. Now, the other thing that's really cool.
So I've got a now right here. That's where I want to come back in.
Now the other thing.
There we go. So what I can do here in Movie Studio is where my cursor is, I can actually drag, and it gives me a clean place to kind of like an anchor, basically. Again, save frequently to save your ass. Again, there's almost half a second.
There. Now the other thing that's really cool, if you haven't seen so yet, make sure you check out our review of the ChargeN Pro induction charging station.
So this is where they actually sent two devices. They sent both of these devices for review. And the inductive charger, that review is already done. And what I can do here is I can, once I upload to YouTube, I can add the card and everything that kind of calls attention to it. The other thing I can do is I can grab my thumbnail for that video and dump it in my timeline right there too. So it is on that hard drive. And we're going to go to Rexon Productions. There's a few videos in here, guys and gals. I know J-Love was in here before. So we need the wireless charging stand. Biggity bam. Drag, drop. And now you can see on this splash screen, again, it shows the product, shows it how it comes out of the box, shows it actually in use. The title is right here talking about, you know, iPhones, Samsung Galaxy phones, talks about the product name. Has a little bit of fun with it too. You know, I'm a Disney fanatic. And so for here, this was a play on Pinocchio and Got No Strings on Me. Or if you prefer, Ultron. From Age of Ultron. Man, I cannot wait for Infinity War. That movie is going to own Eric's face every which way. The other thing I can do with this is say I've got this dead area here. I can use this overlay to cover up that edit. So if I want to cut that out, I can do it.
Station, because you can use this Gen Pro.
So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it forward so I hide my bringing it in kind of clumsily into frame.
Of the ChargeN Pro induction charging station, because you can use this. Let's plug into the side right like so, and this can actually provide power to this to charge like my Samsung Galaxy Note 8. I can charge right through there too. So pretty cool way that you can use two of their devices together to really get the most out of it. So what we're going to do at this point, like I say, we're going to put the dividers in, we're going to test it out, and like I say, one of the things...
Well, I mean, it's not as good of a collaboration as, like, I don't know, NES Addict and I will be. I mean, that's going to be like the collaboration and all collaborations.
I want to find out, for gamers, can this be utilized with like an NES Classic, a Super NES Classic, a Super Retro Trio?
Smash Brothers, overrated. Almost as overrated as Breath of the Wild. Boom!
Plus,
or the Dreamcast.
Even a Nintendo Switch. Can I power those devices through this? So let's check it out.
So that little segment of audio there, what I was trying to do as well is bring relevancy to what I feel is the core audience here on the channel. The gamer, the electronics geek, the enthusiast, that why do I care about this? Well, can it power an NES Classic, a Super NES Classic, Super Retron HD, a Switch, any of those items? Bringing it back, and again, bringing relevance above and beyond what the manufacturing or what the manufacturer may have intended it for to begin with. Does Sony editing Vegas software take a lot of... It can. It is more... The RAM will be more important while you are going to make your hair fall out. Welcome to the club, man. RAM will make a difference during the... Well, you can't power a GameCube. It doesn't use USB. Duh. I mean, even a Genesis user knows that. So Vegas Movie Studio uses the RAM basically for the preview window, what we have right here, right now. That's the RAM that's pushing that through. And I forget if I have 8 or 16 gigs on this. This is a Core i7 processor I bought last year in October. Good thing I didn't say anything about game... Oh, that was the same thing. Duh. where the processor and this can actually utilize a separate GPU, and my laptop does have a separate GPU, is when you render. It will speed that up tremendously. But RAM, that's all your preview window, essentially. So now I have my bench stuff, for the most part, lined up the way I wanted. Just make sure that this is fine.
Very nicely packed.
That's fine there. Yep, I'm good with that. Now I'm going to bring in, this is my close, and you can see a lot of different issues here where cut, start, stop. I'm going to have to clean that up. No, I mean, you said Dreamcast was overrated. Good thing you didn't say it's... Oh, no, GameCube is one of the greatest video game systems of all time. I would say my 3 favorite systems in order would be the Super NES, the NES, and the GameCube. But you have to remember, I think I'm a couple years older than you are, Eric, at 41 here. So, I mean, I saw, you know, hell, I owned an Atari 2600 back when it still had wood grain on it. I bought an NES in the store, new. You know, what have I bought in a store? I bought an NES new. Actually, I bought every Nintendo console new in store. I bought an NES, Super NES, N64, GameCube, Wii, Wii U, Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced, Game Boy Advance SP. I never owned any colors. The original DS, a DS Lite. I never owned a DSi, a 3DS, and a new 3DS XL.
Check it out. Okay, I know I said the whole idea behind this in the beginning was to
Now,
clean up wires so there's less clutter.
Sorry about this. Mine is... Yeah, but Eric, you don't have a Spice Orange GameCube. Just throwing that out there. So one thing, too, that I have learned as well is to be careful if you have a monitor in the background, what's playing, that it doesn't distract from what's going on. I've had videos where I've had a video of myself playing in the background, and it's like Inception. It was just, it was bad, and I wish I wouldn't have done it. And this is primarily just, I've got the a game system plugged in, and it's just running the, not the boot loop, but basically what it would, the startup screens.
Trust
really.
me, when I get this finally straightened out, it'll look a lot better. But right now, I have my Samsung Galaxy Note 8 on the induction charging station from ChargeN Pro plugged in, which we'll see the blue glow pop up there. It'll indicate that it is charging. There you just saw the phone flashing. I actually decided to use the plastic piece that comes for smartwatches. It's good for me to put my Bluetooth headphones on to charge.
So here what I can do, I'm talking about Bluetooth headphones on it. I'm going to come in at this point. I'm going to cut. It's another trick I do quite often. And I'm going to bring it right back to where I cut from, right? Or even overlap by like 1/10 of 1 second. I have a keyboard controller from Japan. No, you don't want to see the Gary Inception video. It's bad.
My Bluetooth headphones on to charge.
Okay, so I want that little section there. I'm talking about Bluetooth headphones, right? So I'm going to do, again, if I overlap just 1/10, it again kind of just helps hide any edits. I'm going to go here just so it's a little bit easier. Now you can see how it cleared up a little bit. Again, that's just on the editing side. It doesn't have any effect whatsoever on the final product. But I'm going to come in here, Event Crop, and zoom in here. And here you can see it's kind of blowing out a little bit. I can see at least. So, I mean, it's a jumble of wires. I just because I have so much crap plugged into it. But, so that's kind of how it looks. But now if I back up here, I'm going to go here.
It's good for me to put my Bluetooth headphones on to charge. I've got my Samsung...
that's all from my original shot. I was just able to digitally zoom in to give a closer look of what I was referencing.
It's good for me to put my Bluetooth headphones on to charge. I've got my Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 charging on here.
Try to use specific product names whenever you can, just for relevance. It's not as bad as Smash's very first video. If you've never seen it, dude, it's like something out of Unsolved Mysteries. It's so bad. It's awesome. No, it's like the Photoshop of Triple H giving Triple H a high five with Triple H in the background while Triple H works out. It's bad.
8-bit Dough gamepad. My Nintendo Switch is here and it is charging. You see, might be hard to see, but
so again, here's another time where I'm showing my Switch and it's kind of far away from the camera. So what I want to do is digitally come in and zoom in to try to give viewers a closer look. Now, because I am overlapping, see, I can jump cut right here in the middle of the audio. Don't care, it'll be fine. Come in there, click that, so I've got my reference point. And hey, I don't have any hair in my ear. That's a good deal. So again, kind of blown out, so I'm going to pull out a little bit. Something that, no, that would have been, that's too mean. All my videos are bad, but I'm learning here. Eventually I'll buy the software. Well, and Eric, that's the cool thing about this, is you can get it cheap. Like, now, I've been using it since, like, version 6. So I do the upgrade pretty much every other year. I paid $50 for the middle-of-the-line software that's normally, like, $90. So even if you've never used it before, the $90 package gets you just a lot of stuff. There is another suite of this that's a step down. I want to say it's $40 or $50. But the extra features in this, at least for me, were worth it.
And it is providing power to our GamersTech 16-bit.
Now, one other thing I want you guys to keep an eye on, too. Look over here on this right-hand side of the screen at the levels.
16-bit HD, which is
they're
what
pegged.
We're showing Earthworm Jim.
Absolutely pegged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I have a volume slider here, and I can bring it down, like there's 2.3 decibels down. I think they do actually, Eric.
The PAL version that I recently brought back from
now you
Germany
can see it's not clipping at the top of the audio.
It's going to be all one fluid thing. Is I'm going to disconnect the HDMI cable and the power cable from the back of the GamersTech 16-bit HD.
The other thing, quite honestly, that you might want to look into, I've tried it, I don't like it, but part of it is just because I'm so used to how Vegas works, is if you do a year subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud, you get Premiere. And then you also get Photoshop at the same time.
I'm going to connect it up to my Super GamersTech 16-bit HD. I'm going to
edit this down. I don't like how this drags.
I'm going to Earthworm Jim, the PAL version that I recently brought back from Germany on. Now what I'm going to do, this is going to be all one fluid thing.
No, it's not going to be one fluid thing because I'm going to edit you out because you're rambling, you old fart. So
the one goofy thing about this is the fact the HDMI, and let's see, and it went out. So it does not look like it has enough current. Actually does not look like it was able to power because it shut off the LED here.
Okay, so that's too far.
Disconnect the HDMI cable and the power cable from the back of the GamersTech 16-bit HD. I'm going to connect it up to my Super NES Classic for power just to see, again, if that will power it.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually change where that edit is, so I'm going to undo that because I don't have a good lead into what that is. So I can come here then.
The one goofy thing about this is the fact the HDMI is upside down. I don't know why power light.
And you use Sony Vegas. I don't know what Smash uses. If that's what he uses, great. I thought that he used Premiere.
Power light is on.
So there.
Power light is set it there, and wait for a second. Takes a few seconds.
And one thing too, if you do have technical issues in a video, like for me, it takes a few seconds for my capture card to actually spit the video out to the TV, and I kind of address that right here.
Power light is on. If that will power it. Power light is on. Set it there, and wait for a second. Takes a few seconds for it to go through my capture device, for it to output the signal correctly, and still.
Okay.
Still blinking. Still blinking. Okay, this part I might cut out. For it to output the signal correctly. It takes a few seconds for it to go through my capture device.
So I'm going to cut that right there. Again, I'm being brutal with the edits on this.
Okay, this part I might cut out.
I even know that it's bad there on the live version, which is never a good sign. How do you get the audio to the videos if you're using your phone to record? I've got a mic. I use a lapel mic for that. Now, and that's one of the things on the stock. Holy crap, it's 1:30. I got to get to bed soon. On the stock Google Pixel camera app, it's not compatible with an external microphone. I had to use a third-party app to record audio into that. The Samsung Galaxy Note 8's camera, you can use stock with an external microphone. The problem is it constantly tries to focus.
Actually, it does not look like it was. Actually does not look like it was able to power because it shut off the LED here. Let's try it one more time. It is on now. And let's see, and it went out. So it does not look like it has enough current. Try it one more time.
So we're going to cut that out there. Again, that's 12 seconds worth of dead space. Now my goal is to get to 10.5 to 12 minutes in every video. The reason for that, once you get over 10 minutes, you can actually place a second ad in your video. I'm trying to make money off the page, and just admitting what it is there. So if I can get to that point, I can put one ad at the very beginning, I can do one halfway through, and then one at the end of the video. So,
and let's see, and it went out. So it does not look like it has enough current to power the Super NES Classic, which I found for some strange reason that both the Super NES Classic and the NES Classic need a lot of current to run. So let us try the NES Classic just to be on the safe side.
Okay, so again, dead space there. You guys don't need to see my fat ass.
Is on the system. Looked like it was going to go through for a second to the capture device. Let's see, fingers crossed.
So I've got this section here I can pull out. Back that up there. So
same way. The light is on the system.
Pull this in there.
On the system. Looked like it was going to go through for a second to the capture device. Let's see, fingers crossed. So it will power my NES Classic, but for some reason would not power the Super NES Classic. Interesting to note here. One final test we're going to do. I have my Charge N Pro switch hub. Unfortunately, I do not have a long enough.
So I'm going to cut that there.
Charge N Pro. I have my. Interesting to note here. One final test.
I'll actually delete that one final test and just go straight to the final test. YouTube picks it. It's basically an auction process. And the one thing you can do is if you are how would I say it? Like a corporate page, you can select that you don't want competitors' ads playing. But it doesn't matter to me.
Fingers crossed, and I Fingers was the lead that was powering the NES Classic Edition just now. I'll toss that cable aside.
That's all dead air.
Fingers crossed, and I do have to change my input here. Classic. Interesting to note here. Crossed, for some reason, would not power the Super NES Classic.
So I can actually back that up a little bit. And now let's go here to...
I would say this does not have the current that we need for the switch, so I'm going to... No blue light right now on the back of the Charge N Pro switch hub. So not coming on there. I don't think it's going to have the current. I would say this does not have the current that we need for the switch, so what I'm going to do here is drop my switch. No, I'm going to connect it up here straight to here and connect this HDMI cable back up.
No, that's all dead air that can go.
Here. Oh, blue light is on. That is a good sign.
So
kind of awkward, but
I need to pull out audio where it says I'm going to hook up my switch. So
connect this HDMI cable back up. I would say this does not have the current that we need for the switch, so what I'm going to do here is drop my switch. No, I'm going to connect it up here straight to here. So not coming on there. I don't think it's going to have no blue light right now. To my input number 1, which again, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, and I do have to change my input. Toss that cable aside. That was the lead that was powering the NES Classic Edition just now. The power cable here, I'm going to disconnect. That was, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect the power.
So I've got a good place there where I've got, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to see if I can't meet this up with connect my switch.
Not coming on there, I don't think for the switch, so what I'm going to do, the current that we need for the switch, so what I'm going to do here is drop my switch. No. Still nothing here. Is a good sign. And it's on.
Okay.
Kind of awkward, but have to do it that way. Does not have the current that we need.
How often do I need to reshoot footage after editing? Rarely, because I try to do 2 or 3 takes a lot of times. I'd rather have too much footage than not enough. The only times I've really had to reshoot stuff is if I've had... I've had issues with my video capture card where it corrupts the data versus writing it properly to my SD card. And that's where just making sure you've got a good SD card makes a difference.
We have changed to my input number 1, which, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect the power cable here. I'm going to disconnect.
Let's see here. So where are we at audio-wise?
For some reason, would not power the Super NES Classic.
So here we're going to pull this forward.
Classic. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect. No blue light right now on the back of the. Fingers crossed, and I do have to. I'll toss that cable aside. That was the lead that was powering the NES Classic Edition just now. I'll toss it. Fingers crossed.
So where are we at?
USB-C to USB-C power cable to connect it out to that port there. It's charging off of that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect the power cable here. I'm going to disconnect. That was the power cable here.
Yeah, I don't like that. I need to find better audio. Where am I at?
I have my Charge N Pro switch hub. Unfortunately, I do not have a long enough switch hub.
So I'm going to do, I'm actually pulling out the reference here to the switch hub just because of the manufacturer's recommendations of not to use other manufacturers' docks with the switch for right now. So let's see if we can get something decent here.
Classic. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect switch hub. Unfortunately, I do not have a long enough USB-C hub. Unfortunately,
you know what I'm going to try to do here? I'm going to take that. I'm going to delete that video, and I'm going to see if I can do yes, because I've got my back to the camera the whole time.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect Switch Hub. Unfortunately, I do not.
And if you guys wouldn't have seen that, you may have never been the wiser that that video and that audio don't go together. So don't be afraid to do stuff like that to cover up issues where they arise.
That is a good sign. Still nothing here. Oh, blue light is on.
So, and I don't want to reference the blue light because that's exclusive to that external dock.
And it's on. And it's on. That is a good sign.
Actually, what I may end up doing is continuing that trick. I'm going to bring that back. I don't need that part. So, if I can bring that back. Okay, so I've got some dead audio there, right? I've got that bit of area that's dead. So if I go like a so, biggity bam. You guys see how I did that? So
Going to connect Switch Hub, and it's on. This is the first multi-output that I have seen that will work with the Switch dock.
okay.
So
what I'm going to do here is I'm going to skip towards the end because I want to show you guys too how important it is to have some templates set up for things that you're going to have in every video, and that's pretty much what I'm going to have in this last 2.5 minutes here.
My 8-bit DOE controller here, and
there you go here.
down below you can also.
So if you guys watch my videos at the end, it's always, email if you have or leave a comment down below if you have questions. Email, Twitter, Facebook. I try to reference subscribe. I forget that too often. If you haven't done so yet, like, comment, and subscribe on this video, by the way. If you want to make a donation, go for that too. I'm not going to say no, but and then Patreon as well. So.
If you do have any comments or questions on this device too, or anything in general, as always, feel free to leave a comment down below. You can also email me, as always.
So there's my reference to email. I go back to my template folder, which is my Rocksolid Productions folder, my channel defaults, and I have email. So here I have email, and I have it listed as far as when I last updated these. So I've pretty much been using these same ones for the entire year to this point. I'm about ready to refresh these as well. So email, bam! I don't have to recreate it. It's the same image every time. Consistency is important.
Always at rocksolidmail@gmail.com. We answer all of our emails. You can also visit us on Twitter.
So then to Twitter, I go down here to my Twitter graphic. Bam.
Visit us on Twitter, like I mentioned.
Now these I've created, if you can see right here, those are items that I created in Photoshop. So those are just tools that I've had to this point for creating my template closes on here.
Like I mentioned, at Rocksolid Studios, and then as well on our Facebook.
So, and then I need my Facebook. And some of these I actually just need to archive, like Facebook New. Well, no, that's not Facebook New.
On our Facebook.
Now, and this graphic, along with this graphic, I grabbed the image using my snipping tool, dropped it into Photoshop, and that's what allowed me to make this as it is right here.
Page at Rocksolid Productions at facebook.com/rocksolid.
So that doesn't quite jive there. So what I'm going to do, I will add in a crossfade out there, crossfade in.
Solid Productions at facebook.com/Rocksolid Productions, and you can check us out on there. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
There's the call for subscribe. Thankfully, I did that. Subscribe. YouTube. Bam.
Button that way.
I know a lot of people use like the bouncing subscribe button. I like this because it shows my channel, shows people exactly where that stupid subscribe button is.
Up to date when we do come out with new video content.
I'm just going to make that a little bit longer.
Hit that bell icon, you'll get a notification each and every time I do upload a new video. We try to post 2 to 4 videos every week, so keeping that.
And here all I'm doing is, why, you know, it's kind of a sales pitch of why do you even want to subscribe? What's the benefit to you? Well, this is the benefit to you.
Content fresh is important to us, and hopefully it's important to you as well. And finally, if you want to help support the future of Rock Solid Productions, you can do so by visiting us on our Patreon page, Patreon.
And then finally our Patreon logo, Patreon 122817, biggity bam.
.com/rocksolid, and for as little as $1 a month, you get early access to all of our video content, exclusive one-on-one conversations. We even let you kind of help steer the direction of what we're doing on future content. What do you think?
So that's the last of my defaults. The final things that I do here is I make sure that that is short and sweet to the end. There's no extra overlay. Fade out. I add in, and this is me coming from a corporate standpoint, having done so many videos. I have a copyright that I throw in at the end of every video. So there's my default copyright. And I can move that wherever I want. Fading in. And then finally, the last thing that I do is I have music at the end for the close. So we will use block 2 for this one. So this one should be different than the open, I think.
Very cool on there. Thanks for...
Nope, it's not. So we're going to pull that one out. It's a block 3 that's the different one. Block 3 longer. Oops, if you grab the right file, stupid.
Yes! So...
Nope, that's the same one. Which one is the different one? Nope, I didn't want that. There we go. So I've got slightly different music there to close. Sometimes I use the same, sometimes I use different. It all depends on what, you know, kind of mood I'm in. So I'm fading that in over the course of 10 seconds. Now at the end here, what I'll do is, if you remember, there's that volume bar that I dropped down earlier on. Double click there, double click there. I can pan it up, so we'll go here.
Watching, and I will see you soon.
So there you can see how the volume crescendoed up. There's my fade out for that. And at this point, I'll end up tweaking just a couple things here in the morning. I'm tired. I need to get to bed. I have to get up in 5 hours to go to work. Where's the blooper reel? Here's the thing, Eric. If you're a professional, there is no blooper reel. Boom. So basically, that's how I go through and edit a video. I think Vegas Movie Studio is the easiest and the best for me. It's not the most feature-rich. There are things that people can do in Premiere and other things that are a lot more feature-rich than this. I'm not utilizing it for this, so for me, this is the best editing software for me. Part of it, too, has been using it 10 years, too, so that makes a huge difference as well. I appreciate all you guys stopping by. Like I say, it's 2 o'clock in the morning Central Time. For you on the West Coast, it's approaching midnight there. So I really hope that this has helped. If you guys have questions as time, blooper reels are what keep me watching videos to the end of movies after the credits. If you're a professional, man, there ain't no blooper reel. What do you want me to do? So I did like your idea, though. I think we may do something with that next week. So, man, this is, as you can see, it can be a lot of work, but I mean, there's not all that many edits here. It's really not, and that's where planning your work and working your plan is really can really make things successful. So, again, don't forget to hit that. Thanks, J-Love. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. You can always donate if you want. That way you can help us with our OSSC that we're working on for the future videos and everything. And, yeah, if you have questions, don't hesitate. Seriously. Email me. Hit me on Twitter. Hit me on Facebook. All your ideas are great ideas. No. No, they're not. No. No. So, alrighty, guys and gals, I'm going to bed. I'm one tired guy. I will talk to you guys at a later point in time. And, yeah, seriously, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for everything. I greatly appreciate it, as always. Without any of you, I'd just be sitting here. Wow. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that camera was that fuggered up. I'd just be sitting here talking to myself and have no reason to have to edit videos because nobody would be watching. So I'm rambling because I'm clearly freaking tired right now. So goodbye. Good night. So long. In case I don't see you later, good afternoon, good evening, and